Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the closing session of the 47th Annual Luso American Education Foundation Conference on Education and Culture, a conference that began obviously 47 years ago in person. The last 4 years have been online, hosted this year and the last prior 3 as well through PBBI, that's the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute at California State University, Fresno. Our first conference was, as I've mentioned in prior sessions, in the city of San Diego. A beautiful place to start a conference, by the way. And it has been at many parts throughout the valley, namely in Tulare, Visalia, Turlock, Modesto. It has also been in Artesia, Chino. It has been in various parts of the Bay Area, from San Jose to Berkeley. And as I said, for the last now 4 consecutive years online, with lots of different folks being able to partake. I'm just amazed at some of the sessions. I was looking through briefly. We had sessions that had as many as 850 people attending, and that is obviously something we could not do in person. I'm of the generation, and this was not very recently. It wasn't prior to 2019, which was the last in person. This was basically in the 1990s, late 1990s, I believe, 98 or 99. I was at an event, and we had a visiting dignitary at the time. He was the president of the University of the Azores, and I recall a colleague of mine coming out, kind of, scrambling. He said, "We have to do." A few of us were just talking outside of the committee, and he said, "You have to help me. We have to get people. We only have 4 people watching the president of the University of the Azores, because we had parallel sessions, and obviously some sessions had 30 people, and others, but we've never had one with 800. So it's been a record, and amazing that we can reach people not only in various parts of California, but also we've had people watch us mainly from the states that we've had the information from: Hawaii, Idaho, Texas, from Arizona, Washington State, Florida, New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. So, and of course, people in the Azores, people in other parts of the Portuguese diaspora. I want to turn it off. We're going to have a reflection piece on this, as I promised you, but our president is online with us at this closing session, and that is Maria Holish, and she is like Miss Commitments to 450 organizations, I think she belongs to, as of last count. She donates a lot of her time to a lot of Portuguese organizations, Macanese organizations, and other social services and cultural organizations as well in the Bay Area. So, Maria, thank you so much for taking the time and your busy schedule to be with us, and some final thoughts and some thoughts from you as president of the Luso American Education Foundation.
Thank you, Denise. Well, first off, thank you everyone for participating, and of course, Denise, for spending all this time and energy doing the moderating for this last 4 days. It's been an excellent conference so far. I've been listening to most of the different panels and activities that's been going on. And again, thank you so much to the Portuguese Beyond Borders for doing this for us, and everybody that's been participating. And we've learned a lot from this conference, and I hope you guys have also learned a lot. And I wish everybody the best, and thank you. And sorry, I can't stay too long on this, but again, I just want to thank everyone for the wonderful job, especially Denise, and all the participants that have helped us on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you for taking the time, and keep on doing what you do, all the great work that you do for the Macanese, the Portuguese, and other communities, multiculturalism throughout the Bay Area. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your kind work.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that was Maria Holish, as I said, president of the Luso American Education Foundation. We're going to share the screen here real quick, and we're going to talk a little bit about the conference, and then the closing words will be from Pedro Pinto, who is the Consul General of Portugal in San Francisco. And so if you, hopefully all of you can see exactly what I am looking at as well. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to those who are here on Zoom. And of course, thanks to those who are joining us on social media, as we are on various groups and pages on Facebook. And thanks to all the groups. First of all, before I begin anything, I want to thank all of the different groups throughout the Portuguese American world who were gracious enough, of course, to carry this conference and all of the multiple panels and presentations that we had. We've had over 19 hours in the last 4 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And of course, it was only possible to reach as many people as we have, and will continue, because that's the thing with social media. Things do continue because of all of the different groups, of all of the different partners, of all of the different people in the Portuguese American community that agreed to carry this on their Facebook group or their Facebook page, such as Palcus. It's been most of the sessions, or I think all of them actually, have been on the Palcus page, and Palcus does a wonderful job, as all of you know, with the Portuguese American community throughout, of course, the throughout the entire United States of America. And they have lots of folks that follow them, and we appreciate it very, very much. We appreciate Palcus for putting it on their page as well. We appreciate the California Portuguese American Coalition for putting it on their page as well. A lot of the sessions as well. We appreciate, of course, all of our groups at PBBI, but various groups throughout the state of California, throughout the United States. Even some groups from the Azores were carrying it. Some groups from Madeira, some groups from mainland Portugal. And again, on behalf of PBBI, on behalf of the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute, on behalf of the Luso-American Education Foundation, thanks to all of you. Also, those of you putting it on your personal page. That's the way we can get, of course, community built nowadays. We're a different community than we were 25, 30 years ago. And we are even a different community than we were the last time the conference was in person, which was in 2019. We were a different community 4 years ago. The community changes, but we were also hit with a pandemic that was, of course, a tragedy in many ways, but it opened our eyes to certain things that were within our reach, and we kind of had been refusing to take part of them. The pandemic opened those eyes to us, and thanks to everyone in the Portuguese American community, as I said, a group, association, pages, and the private folks that also put this conference on as well. So this was our program. As you can see, we followed pretty much everything. We had a couple of time changes this morning. We had an issue with the presentation at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll talk about it in a little bit, but we will have it for you at a later time. So we began actually with the presentation by the Diretor Regional das Comunidades, José Andrade, who did an excellent presentation, which I'm going to be getting, and I can share with you because the slides were in English. He spoke in Portuguese about the autonomy and the process and how autonomy works in the Azores. We are thankful to José Andrade, Diretor Regional das Comunidades, for being the guest speaker at the opening session. Our keynote speaker was from Boston University, Professor Daniela Melo. The talk was the Diaspora and the Revolution, Luso-America Diasporic Activism in 1974-75. If you want to, all of our sessions were outstanding. This one, of course, was really outstanding as well. A fascinating work by Professor Daniela Melo. It is already up on our YouTube, PBBI YouTube page. It's PBBI-Fresno State, by the way. So you can go to our YouTube channel, PBBI-Fresno State, click on the opening session. The first one is of José Andrade, Diretor Regional das Comunidades. If you don't speak Portuguese, you can follow along the slides, but you can also fast forward to this one that's in English, The Diaspora and the Revolution, Luso-American Diasporic Activism in 1974-1975. And it really shows the power of involvement of the Portuguese community at various aspects, and how the liberation movement of the Azores and Madeira was portrayed in the press. A fascinating talk that is a work in progress, as she so eloquently mentioned, but it's a wonderful work to get to know the Portuguese history in America. You must obviously watch this presentation. That evening, the evening of Wednesday, September 27th, we had the Carnation Revolution, Memories and Perspectives. We had invited Eduardo Eusebio, Marie Kelly, John Bento, and then myself. And Marie Kelly could not attend. It was the a baseball game in San Francisco, that a heritage evening, and Eduardo Eusebio and John and myself did participate. We had a very, very interesting sharing of memories and perspectives. Eduardo Eusebio brought the issue of the retornados, those who were Portuguese citizens who lived in Angola and Mozambique, how their lives were really affected. But of course, it was a colonization, and as we know, when the colonization process ends, normally the colonizers have to go back to their home, and that's exactly what happened with lots of folks. And John brought up an interesting aspect also as well. John Bintu, how not to take democracy for granted, how sometimes we do here in the United States of America, and how his folks would be kind of sad at some of the things that are happening because they left the island of Madeira in order to give him an opportunity and to get away from the Salazar regime. Then on Thursday, we had invited Lara Goulart, who couldn't make it, unfortunately, but Sam Pereira, Anthony Barcelos, Diana Firestone, and Millicent Borges-Accardi all made the Carnations in September, the California Portuguese American Literary Experience. And besides their fantastic readings, which they are all excellent at reading their material, all excellent creators of poetry and fiction, we also spoke about and got some very interesting ideas that maybe PBBI and even Luso American Education Foundation, definitely FLAD, Luso American Development Foundation, definitely also the government of the Azores can help in what we believe is a strong tradition, the Portuguese American literary experience in California, and how we can bridge we can bridge the different communities and also build bridges with the mainland Portugal, the Azores, and Madeira through this literature. And of course, we need funding for some of these projects. Hopefully FLAD can be a partner in this. Hopefully the government of the Azores and even the government of Madeira and other organizations, including the Luso American Education Foundation, can be a partner in some of these ideas that were brought forth by these Portuguese American literary creators who were part of this panel on Thursday in the afternoon. Then we spoke about the community, today's community and tomorrow's prospects. And we had as guests Monique Kelly Valance, Jerry Escobar, and Tisha Cardoza. And we talked about the community. We talked about some new things that are happening. We talked about some old things that need to be revamped. I would invite you to listen. It's an hour presentation. Lots of different notes were taken, including how Heritage Nights can be important for visibility, but of course not a panacea for everything. How we also have to do things such as history symposiums and literary colloquiums and different events that may only take 25 or 30 people to attend, but who knows, a spark may ignite in those 25 and 30, and the next year can be 50 or 60 or 100 or 200, because more than showing off the popular things of our culture, it is also important for us to cultivate the identity. A lot of Americans and Californians of Portuguese background, not to any fault of their own, because of the distance in generation, whether they're third or fourth generation, do not have a place, and they need a place or multiple places where they can find out about their heritage. So we spoke about all of the different things that are going on and all of the new creative things that can happen within the Portuguese American community. The evening of the Thursday, we had Carnations in September, teaching the Portuguese language and cultures in California public high schools. And we invited all of the high school teachers that we know of, and that we have a list. And we had some did not answer. We had a couple of regrets, and we appreciate them taking the time to say, "Wait, hey, I couldn't attend." Those who didn't even take the time, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you feel that these things are not important. We feel that they are. We feel that it's a lack in the Portuguese American communities that we don't get together enough in education and hash out some of the challenges that we have, because until we can triple at least the number of students teaching, learning Portuguese at California high schools, and I do mean that, at least triple, because if we have 1,200 until we have 3,500 to 4,000, we will not have reached the capacity that we need. We actually need to quadruple or even further than that. But we have not grown in the last few years, and we've grown, the numbers that we've grown have been insignificant. And we talked, it was an open meeting. I thank the three teachers who participated: Luis Nunes from San Jose High School, Clemente Fagundes from Mission Oak High School, and also Gonçalo Souza, who is a young and very vivacious and exciting new teacher who is teaching math and Portuguese at a magnet school in the LA Unified School District. And so we spoke about different things. We spoke about the present. We spoke about the future. We spoke about Newell without any hindrance, without having anyone hovering over us. And we were able to come up with some interesting thoughts that came from that discussion that will be part of the Luso American Education Foundation 47th Annual Conference conclusions that we'll be putting forth in the next few weeks. And then on Friday, we begin at 8 o'clock in the morning with a presentation in Portuguese, Preservando as Raízes. Rui Faria is the president of the Azorian Immigrant Association, and we thank him for participating, and we thank him also for making some very, very blunt affirmations, including the one that sometimes we in the Portuguese diaspora don't have what we need and complain about everything, but we sometimes don't organize, and that is so true. He mentioned to us, which is the truth, folks, there's some things that really scare Azorian politicians. He looked at it from the aspect of the Azores. There's a couple of things that scare Azorian politicians, but the same thing in Madeira and something in mainland Portugal, which is which is a petition with names, a petition with names. So if we want something to happen, and we've been talking, and if we put a petition with even a couple thousand names from the diaspora, from the United States and Canada, it will have a different take. It will show them that we are serious. All talk, and it doesn't get us a lot of different places. He also mentioned that the same thing with politicians. When politicians visit us, and I do that often, and I get criticized all the time. I receive them, and I receive them cordially, but I tell them how I feel, and I tell them what I believe is important for the Portuguese American community. By ignoring them, especially the press. The Portuguese press has a role. The Portuguese press has a responsibility to be at these events with Portuguese entities. But they have also the role and the responsibility to ask some hard questions. And so just to be there to cover it, it's probably best they're not there. But the responsibility is to be there and to ask some hard questions. And in the meetings I have with Portuguese politicians, I always, the organizations I belong to, whether it be at the university, whether it be California Portuguese American Coalition, whether it be any other organization, I am in favor of always receiving those who want to visit us. But we must tell them how we feel and what we need. And that is one of the things that Rui Faria mentioned. We don't do enough of that in the Portuguese American community. We either ignore it or we are there for the photo op and don't do anything else. Semear Abril, Os Valores de Abril, is a program that Comandante Jorge Betancourt and the Associação 25 de Abril is doing. He talked about this program. We talked about the possibility of doing this in diaspora schools as well. It was a fascinating presentation as always. Comandante Jorge Betancourt hopefully will be with us in person next year, but at least online we will have his collaboration all throughout the year of 2024 as we commemorate Abril. Reaching Families Through Children's Literature was a presentation by Angela Costa Simões. It was, again, a fascinating presentation. Angela has done a wonderful job with her children's books, and they're all available wherever you buy your books online. Or you can go to your local bookstore and ask them to order online as well. And the other thing that we spoke about was the numbers that Palkas did a wonderful job in coming out with these numbers that are the official numbers of the U.S. Census from 2020, I should say, from 3 years ago. We have another census in 2030. Who knows how many of us, especially as we get older, are going to be alive. But we have the numbers, and Angela took some time to reflect on these numbers And we will be putting forth some efforts on this as well through PBBI. Hopefully, Luso American Education Foundation can join us. And the PALCUS will have an event, I believe, on the 26th. It's announced on their pages with Dr. Dulce Scott from Anderson University, who will be also crunching these numbers and looking at different aspects of these numbers as well. California Portuguese Pulse, a project for the business community, is a new project by Zachary Ramos and his Gustine Business Association. Talked about a magazine that he's put forth, very well done, available online, available to purchase through Amazon as well. On-demand printing. And so thanks to Zachary and his team for excellent work being done. And there's another opportunity for the business community to come together in California. The Portuguese of Hawaii, the early 20th century, remembering home or membering home. Michael de Matos, Professor Michael de Matos from the University of Hawaii, a fascinating presentation about a wonderful book and about the wonderful community there. And really put a lot of things in perspective that I think us in California could learn some lessons from. So I invite you to, once this presentation is up on YouTube, to watch it. It's about 15 minutes or so. And I think that you'll agree with me. There's lots of things that we can learn from the Hawaiian community. Then we had promoting the values of democracy throughout our California diaspora. Linda Carvalho Cooley, Dr. Linda Carvalho Cooley, Norbert Duarte, Rose B. Martins, and not mentioned here, but also the presence of Eric Ducha, who just finished a degree in history. And all four of them answered some very tough questions and didn't mince any words when it comes to some of the divisions that we have in the Portuguese American community when it comes to political aspects here in America, and how we should be a bit more open-minded on both sides of the aisle. How we should be a bit more open-minded and willing to have conversations and not just be in an echo chamber, and how we should also be open-minded to looking into Portugal, because sometimes we look at Portugal and we hear Portuguese authorities say, "Oh, Portugal is a haven, a paradise for all of this." And unfortunately, it isn't when it has some of the issues that are going on there. Paradises don't have issues as the ones that are faced right now in Portugal, the Azores, and Madeira as well. Tradition and innovation in the California Portuguese diaspora, heritage events, was a fascinating talk with Jeanette Vieira and their upcoming event on October 14th in the city of Pismo Beach. It's kind of an association with the different organizations. They created a Portuguese Heritage Association. They have the Chamber of Commerce of Pismo Beach. They have the City Council. They have PFSA as a sponsor, other community organizations as sponsors. And they're looking forward to doing more of these events, as that kind of a take on what we all have seen from the Greek festivals, the Armenian festivals, and some of the other groups ethnic groups throughout the state of California. So if you're in the Bay Area, I should say, if you're in the Bay Area, do drive down to the Central Coast. If you're in the Central Coast, attend. If you're not, why not go to the Central Coast on the 14th? They're going to have artisans, they're going to have music, they're going to have cultural organizations. PBBI is going to be there with a book presentation, book fair, and so hopefully all of you can join us as well. The 25 de Abril, a brief overview in the revolution in Portugal. This was something I did. It was an encore presentation that was done with documents from the Associação 25 de Abril. It's already online. So if you go to the PBBI-Fresno State YouTube channel and you put in their 25 de Abril or April 25th Revolution, it'll have a couple of things that we have, and it includes this. It's a presentation. It's about 25 minutes or so. And it gives you a brief history about the revolution, what led up to it, how it happened, and the brief with some documents and some interesting pictures of the revolution itself. Then Friday evening, yesterday, we also had at 6 p.m. a comunidade que éramos e a comunidade que somos. It was in Portuguese. Idalmiro da Rosa, José Luís da Silva, Miguel Ávila. By the way, we had also two other ladies invited. One of them said she did not want to do Zoom, and the other one had, because of the time difference in the Azores, could not participate. for you to think there was an all-male panel. And if there was an all-male panel, it's okay because we had females in other panels as well. But we did have two ladies, which I think would have been magnificent participants, but unfortunately, one chose not to, and the other one could not for the time difference as well, because it was 6 o'clock here. But it was a fascinating look at the Portuguese community. We got some ideas. We learned a lot how people feel about it, how these three participants feel, different takes on the community. And that's what's important, because that's the dialogue that we wanted to do under the umbrella of Carnations in September. This morning, we did not have Laços Transoceânicos, as relações Açores e Estados Unidos da América, with Eduardo Pereira Medeiros, who wrote a book called Açores e Estados Unidos, de Colombo à Primeira Guerra Mundial. We will be having this presentation as a part of the PBBI lecture series on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, October 3rd, at 10 o'clock, or I should say October 4th, at 10 o'clock in the morning. So we'll be promoting it, but unfortunately, because of some technical issues with he had there at the place he was in the Azores, it could not be presented. But we did have Açores Contemporâneos, Desafios e Oportunidades, with the most magnificent Azorean writer, Joel Neto, who gave a wonderful presentation. I would highly recommend those of you who understand Portuguese to watch it. It'll be on our YouTube channel as well. For those of you who don't, maybe you can put the subtitles on and follow it in Portuguese with English subtitles. He talked about things that people sometimes don't want to talk about in the Azores. For example, the Azores has a dropout rate of high school of 27%. 27% of the Azoreans do not finish high school. That is unbelievable. When in Europe, it's 10%. When in Portugal, it's 7%. When there are countries like Romania, countries who were way outside of, who were part of the Iron Curtain until a few years ago, have smaller numbers or less, or in the teens. So there's issues. Until we change that, we will never change some of the other issues that we have in Portugal, in the Azores particularly. 27%. Domestic violence up, drug usage. So lots of different things in the Portuguese and the Azorean society that we have chosen in the Azores not to talk about it. We in the diaspora, when we go visit the islands, we choose not to look at them. We choose not to see them. We choose not to ask about them. And so it's not bad for the middle class. The middle class is living very well in Portugal, but for the poor class, it is detrimental, and they will never have social mobility. And indeed, we did not want that. One of the issues, one of the legacies, one of the shared values was the opportunity to move up, to have social mobility in the Azores, in Madeira, and in mainland Portugal. My take on the Portuguese-American experience in California, it was an intergenerational panel that just happened not too long ago, and we had, as you saw, those of you who were part, and it's online, it's on my page, it's on lots of other pages, lots of groups, as I said, and it was interesting to see different perspectives from different generations, lots of concerns, lots of hope, but at the same time, lots of caution, and lots of different things that we can learn from each other when we listen to each other. And when we listened to folks, we had young people in their 20s, we had some in their 30s, we had some in their 40s. And so it was really a intergenerational panel, and it was quite interesting as well. 50 years of democracy in Portugal, how do we celebrate? We just had that on. Again, we're hopefully giving lots of different ideas that folks can use as we really, really need to commemorate 25 de Abril next year. And then, of course, this closing session that we are having right now. And I thank you all for participating. And our closing words will be, of course, from the Consul General of Portugal in San Francisco, who unfortunately could not be here live as he had planned. And yesterday he sent me a video. I hope I can share it with you with a sound so you can see. It's a very, very brief presentation. O Consul Geral de Portugal em São Francisco. And let's listen.
É com muito gosto que pela terceira vez participo no Congresso da Luso-American Education Foundation. Felicito os organizadores, em particular o Dinis Borges, e todos os participantes. Foram debates relevantes para perspectivar o futuro da presença portuguesa na Califórnia. O tema foi muito bem escolhido. No próximo ano celebramos os 50 anos do 25 de Abril. A melhor forma de o fazer é reforçar a ligação às gerações mais novas. Esse tema, bem como a promoção do ensino português na Califórnia, foram duas matérias que abordei nos 2 anos anteriores. Este ano queria-vos deixar um desafio. A ideia de criar um novo museu sobre a imigração portuguesa no Vale de São Joaquim. Seria complementar ao Museu Histórico Português que temos em São José e poderia ser feito a partir das exposições que estão neste momento a decorrer em Hanford sobre a imigração portuguesa em Kings County. Foram organizadas pela Cathy Mendes-Gully, que merece o meu louvor, e poderia ser a base de uma presença permanente desse museu no Vale de São Joaquim. Seria enriquecedor e permitiria manter para as futuras gerações a memória de uma história extraordinária que é da presença portuguesa na Califórnia. Bem-ajam e até breve.
Muito obrigado. Thank you so much. That was the Consul General of Portugal in San Francisco. I'm going to just briefly state in English what he said. Of course, he talked about that he has been here in the past at the conference. Thanked, of course, the organizers and spoke about, of course, the Portuguese events that has been going on all year long with the exhibits. Kind of challenge the Portuguese community in Central California to come up with a museum, which I think is an excellent challenge. The issue is we need about $1.5 million. Maybe the Consul General can have a foundation or two in Portugal, kick up some money, because in order to do it right, you have to have money. If it's best to do it right or not do it at all. And of course, he thanked Cathy Mendes-Gully, a good friend of ours, of my wife and I, for her leadership. I also want to thank Cathy. Want to thank also Michael Seamish. I want to thank Jack Schwartz and Kelly McCoy and all of the directors at the museum, because indeed it was a wonderful set of exhibits. It brought a lot of attention on the contributions that the Portuguese Americans, mostly immigrants, 95% immigrants from the Azores, have made to Kings County, which is a rural county, for those of you who don't know, here in the Central Valley of about 160,000 people. According to the census, about a bit over 10,000 are of Portuguese background, and the Portuguese have been involved. And actually, right now, we have 2 county supervisors in Kings County who are Portuguese background. The mayor of Hanford is half Portuguese. So there is lots of participation, and Kings County folks have been very, very proud of their cultural heritage for many, many years. And we saw this through the exhibit that had the curators of Cathy Mendes-Gully and Michael Seamish. And so thank you all very, very much. Muito obrigado a todos. On behalf of the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute at California State University, Fresno, on behalf of Luso-American Education Foundation, first of all, let me just say that PBBI was it was a lot of work. It always is. These conferences are, even online, but we were happy to do it. We believe in the Luso-American Education Foundation mission, and all of the missions of all of the different organizations throughout the state of California, whether they be social, civically minded, culturally minded, educational minded, they're all very important. They're all a very important part of the piece of the puzzle. So friends, as we end this Carnations in September, Cravos em Setembro, the conference, the theme for this year's 47th annual Luso-American Education Foundation Conference, I want to, again, thank all of you. I want to thank all of the presenters, all of the panelists. It was wonderful to hear different perspectives. Some personally I agree with, others I have a disagreement with, but that's okay. That really is. That is one of the legacies. That is one of the shared values of the 25 de Abril that was shared with us by Comandante Jorge Betancourt so eloquently in his presentation. It is about liberty. It is about freedom. It is about peace. And it is about justice. And so with those 3 key words that were parts of the MFA program, always from the beginning, then that's how we can also build a strong diaspora. All of us together certainly can do a lot in continuing this pilgrimage of being of Portuguese ancestry in the state of California, whether those roots are in mainland Portugal, in Madeira, or the Azores. Again, on behalf of Fresno State PBBI and Luso American Education Foundation, thank you all very, very much. And if you missed any of the presentations, they will all be, there's only one, the opening one that is already on YouTube. But give me a chance, because I have to do it all myself, believe it or not. I don't have a big team. I have folks who help me in a lot of different things. I have a lot of help from the university, and we have, without the blessing of the president of the university, Dr. Saul Jimenez Sandoval, without the help of the faculty, without the help of emeritus faculty such as Dr. David Ross and Elsa Ross and other good friends, we could not do what we do at PBBI at Fresno State. So it is a journey that involves a lot of different people. Even though at a couple of the conferences, people of the panels, people said, "Oh, you need to get other people," and I do have other people involved. But obviously, they look. I'm together with them at all the different things, and they're not necessarily Portuguese. They just believe in the foundation of education and in multiculturalism, and that we are a better society in the Central Valley if we can all learn from each other. Most of my collaborators at the library, at the College of Arts and Humanities, College of Social Science, the Jordan College of Agricultural Science and Technology, the Kremen School of Education, most and some of the other colleges we work with as well, the International Studies, they are not of Portuguese background, but they have helped me tremendously at PBBI and this mission that I took on almost 5 years ago. Again, thank you all for joining us. On behalf of PBBI and Luz America, have a most magnificent weekend. We'll see you. Take care, and we'll see you on the next event of PBBI from Fresno.